Hey, just a heads up that the following content may be disturbing or triggering for some listeners and is not appropriate for children. Please take care of yourself and others who may be listening with you. Welcome to the Bonus Babies Podcast, a show that has no easy answers, only hard questions.
The first time I was 8 years old when my dad sexually assaulted me. My real father sexually assaulted me. He assaulted me for 2 weeks. It was my first time actually meeting him. He told me when I was younger, he would come and visit me, but I don't remember him coming. I mean, I was nervous because I never met him in my life, and he assaulted me. But I never said nothing until I turned 18 again. I don't know why, but my mom thought I wanted to go see my real father, so she took me to his house. He was there, and throughout Thanksgiving week as well, again, he assaulted me in my sleep. I remember a few times just waking up and he was on top of me. I guess, I could say I was too afraid to fight him off, but I tried to fight him off, and he was just strong enough that I just let it happen. I got the courage and I went to the police, and from there they did the investigation, and the cops at first told me too, like, well, are you lying? If you lie about this, you could go to jail for lying. And I said, yeah, I know, I'm not. And I remember clearly saying, this is not the first time he's done it to me. And the cop was like, what? Like, his face was like, what do you mean? And I told him, well, the first time he abused me like this when I was 8 years old, and I never said nothing. So then the cop was like, okay, let's take this bastard to jail.
Can you tell me what you call the kids who you've cared for over the years?
We feel that the children that we receive coming into our home are bonuses. So we call them bonus babies.
I love that. This is your host, Jayne Amelia Larson, and I'm a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate volunteer for youth in foster care. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful. In the same way a CASA works, I explore all things in the foster care maze by talking to kids, parents, caregivers, attorneys, social workers, therapists, really anybody and everybody who will speak to me to keep the conversation open and the information flowing about all things CASA.
Hi, this is Jake Eberly, the producer of the Bonus Babies podcast. And in this episode, Jayne Amelia speaks with Melanie Velasquez. Melanie was first exposed to sex abuse at 8 years old when she was raped by her biological father. But she was too afraid to say something. Then, 10 years later, when she was 18, he abused her again. But this time, she said something. This is her story.
I'm here with Melanie Velasquez. Is that the correct pronunciation of your name?
Yeah.
Can you say it for me so I can hear you say it?
Yes, Melanie Velasquez.
Lovely name. So I was introduced to you via JC Cortez. How do you know JC?
I know JC through school. I went to ELAC, so which would be East Los Angeles College. A lot of people don't know the abbreviation to the school, so usually people who go to ELAC would say, oh, ELAC. And then other people would be like, what's ELAC? Well, East Los Angeles College.
Yeah, it sounds like a really cool club or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I met JC. I met her through college, be the Dreamweaver at the time.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you were raised?
How I was raised? Well, I was, before foster care, I was raised with my uncles. So I was just raised with pure boys. My mom was never around. So I would just always just be looking up to my uncles. And I would always be playing basketball, watching football, like if I was a little boy.
Oh, so you were a tomboy?
Yeah, when I was younger. So it's funny.
Yeah.
They'll treat me like a little tomboy instead of a girl.
Yeah, that was true for me too.
So every time they try to buy me a Barbie doll, I'm just like, no, I'd rather get a Cartwheel cart. Or one of those remote control cars.
So how old were you when you were removed from your home then?
I was removed twice from my home. The first time, I believe, I'm not exactly sure the age, but I want to say I was about 4 or 3 years old the first time. And then I was in the foster care system for like probably 2 years, and then I went back with my mom.
Right, and you told me that you remember as a little girl, you were 5, and you cooked ramen for your little brothers and sisters. So like you were the mom, right?
Yes. My mom was mostly working, or she was out and then time going out with her friends. She was never home.
Right. And you have siblings, and you're all from different dads, right?
Correct.
And do you have a good relationship with your siblings now?
Yes.
Like, do you know them?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Good. Okay, so then your mom went to court to fight for you, and that's why you got returned home to her?
Yes. The first time, yes.
The first time. And you told me that when you were in front of your mom, you could never cry. Like, she taught you, like...
Correct. Well, my uncles and everybody did, because, sorry for my language, but they would be like, oh, pussies don't cry. So when I was younger, like, if a bee stinged me, I couldn't cry, because they're like, oh, well, you gotta be tough, there's nothing to cry about. And so, though my mom actually would never want me to cry, she never liked it when I cried. So all of us kids, we were like one of those quiet kids. When we get in trouble, wait until we get home.
I see. So you kept it all inside.
Yeah. We kept it all inside.
And you said that the foster homes that you were in, that you remembered, they were not good ones.
No.
What happened?
No, the first one that I was in, I remember they were very abusive. Which, I don't know, it's confusing to me, but maybe it makes sense to you. The first time that I was in foster care, I actually went into the foster care, the care of my other sister's grandma.
Right, so kinship care.
Yeah, I guess in a way. So my second sister, she stayed with her grandma, and then my mom got me back, fought for me back. So her grandma actually was very abusive towards me, because that's one reason why we got taken away from my mom, was because I was making soup and I was boiling the water. And I told my sister, don't come near me, don't come near to the kitchen. And my sister, as a little girl, she came into the kitchen, and when I was moving the water to like the bowls to make the ramen noodles and stuff, she like moved my chair, and then I burned her with hot water.
Oh.
So ever since then, like, she thought I did that on purpose. So while I was in her care, I just remember, like, if I did something wrong, she would not physically hit me, but she would put my head in boiling water as well, to like feel the same way I made her niece or her granddaughter feel.
And you said that your dad abused you too, but that nobody believed you.
Yeah.
What happened?
The first time I was 8 years old, when my dad sexually assaulted me. My real father sexually assaulted me. He assaulted me for 2 weeks. It was my first time actually meeting him. He told me when I was younger, he would come and visit me, but I don't remember that. I don't remember him coming to visit me. So for me, when I was 8, it was my first time actually physically meeting him for the first time. And I was nervous because I've never met him in my life. So.
And then he assaulted you.
And he assaulted me. But I never said nothing until I turned 18 again. Me and my mom had an argument, and I just asked a question, and I don't know why, but my mom thought I wanted to go see my real father. So she took me to his house, into my grandma's house, and he was there, and throughout Thanksgiving week as well, again, he assaulted me in my sleep. I remember a few times just waking up and he was on top of me. And I guess, I could say I was too afraid to fight him off, but I tried to fight him off, and he was just strong enough that I just let it happen.
And you couldn't go to anybody for help?
And no, I couldn't, because I felt like nobody would believe me.
Right.
So then he was, I guess you could say, like, constantly calling me, harassing me constantly calling and texting. And I remember I left my Instagram, not my Facebook login, and I was texting a friend, and my friend says, hey, who's this guy saying that I shouldn't be talking to you, or if I continue talking to you, he's gonna beat me up. And I was like, what are you talking about? And my friend was like, yeah, look, the picture. I was like, oh, that's my real dad. And he goes, oh, okay. So after that, I got the courage, and I went to the police, and from there they did the investigation, and I told him where it happened and everything that was there, like the couches, the blankets and everything, by the time the cops got there, all of that was gone. So they found a picture of me, and they used it against him as evidence. And yeah, he went to jail. So I felt good that I got justice.
You put him in jail?
Yeah. Because at first the cops at first told me too, like, well, are you lying? If you lie about this, you could go to jail for lying. And I said, yeah, I know, I'm not. I remember the cop was like, are you saying this because you want to get back to him, or you and your mom are arguing, you just want to make a lie? And I remember clearly saying, this is not the first time he's done it to me. And the cop was like, what? Like, his face was like, what do you mean? And I told him, well, the first time he abused me like this when I was 8 years old, and I never said nothing. So then the cop was like, okay, let's take this bastard to jail.
Wow. Wow, it's so brave of you, Melanie. So brave of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to say, yeah, because my real dad has four other kids, and they're all under the age of 10. So I'm glad that if he was abusing them sexually, I stopped that.
Yeah, yeah.
At the same time, too, I kind of feel guilty because they're not going to be raised with a dad, but I'm happy because they're not going to be abused by him if he was abusing them as well. And yeah, I lost family members because of my real father, and that side of the family doesn't want nothing to do with me anymore, which is sad, but I guess it happens when there's an abuser.
Yeah. And then you said that it ended up that you had a good relationship with your stepdad. So tell me about that.
When I was 7, my mom met my stepdad, and when I was 6, my uncle passed away. And I want to say within that year, I was going to be 7 that year. I was 6.5, so yeah. Within that year, my uncle passed away. I was going to be 7 years old. And when my uncle passed away, within a week or two, my mom met my stepdad. And I don't know what, but I felt like God, my uncle sent him my way to protect me. I don't know. It was just like I lost someone, but then I gained an angel in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, you call him your angel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was really good to you, right?
He's everything to me, which I go visit him every month. I go put flowers in his grave every month. So my uncle was like my dad.
Yeah, it does sound like he sent an angel to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so what was it like at home then? Because it was tough with your mom, but you had a good stepdad.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, my mom would get away of hitting me, abusing me while he was home, because no one would ever know that she was abusing me, because, when she was hitting me, I couldn't cry, I couldn't scream, or I just had to take it, like you said, I had to take it like a man, basically. And I remember just one day my grandma, which my stepdad's mom, came in, heard, my mom just hitting me, and just saw me just quiet, like just no tears, nothing in my eyes. And I remember she just went to go and say, hey, she's hitting her. You gotta go stop it. And I just remember my stepdad, coming in the room and just getting in between of me and my mom. And he was taking the hits for me.
And you have a good relationship with him now?
Yeah, now I do. Before it wasn't so great, but now I do.
Mm-hmm. And you say it wasn't so great. You mean at the beginning, because even though he was good to you, it was like because there was conflict in the house, or what?
It was like, I don't know, it was like, a girl at 7 years old, and then a man just coming into your life doesn't know nothing about you. And you think like, I don't know, I felt like at that time, men were just very abusive. And for the experience I went through at a young age, of rape and assault, and For me, I felt like all men were just evil. And I remember telling my stepdad one day, I shouldn't listen to you because you're not my dad. But then it's like, I like made myself cry because I'm like, he's the only father figure I have that has never put hands on me, who has never physically tried anything towards me, so why am I being so evil towards him? So I don't know, it was, I guess for me, it was hard for me to like accept that him as a father figure and accept that he was a good man or he was gonna hurt me or something. I don't know why, but it's, to this day he's never has put hands on us or nothing. So
Well, you were a little girl, so I mean, you can't understand everything when you're little, and what mostly happens is you don't know what's going on. You don't know why people do what they do or why they're doing it to you, and you just try to get along, right?
yeah.
All right. So then what happened? Because you ended up meeting an older guy online.
Yeah, so because all the damages that I've gone through, um, my dad in the school district, I was in IEPs at my whole like entire like middle school and I want to say a little bit of high school. I was in IEPs and they saw like I was just like so like my anxiety was so bad that it's like if I try to do anything, my depression, my anxiety got really bad that. And then I don't know what, just where a phase of my life where I was just always in and out of psychic hospitals, in and out. Like every month I was in and out of hospitals. I was just, medications, and medications didn't work for me, so it was just always back and forth. I was always relapsing, going back to the hospitals. And it was always for the same thing. It was always for hurting myself, cutting myself, and so it's like at a time where my dad couldn't anymore, he couldn't help me, or he tried his best to help me, and every time I would just fall back going to the hospital after hospital, or it would be a consistent 3 months not going to the hospital, and the fourth month somewhat I would go to the hospital. So it was like something where it's like, no, 3 months with no hospital, okay, good job. Oh, go back to the hospital. So he had no other choice but to send me to a residential facility. And that's where I finished my entire high school and helped me become the person who I am today. And once I got out of there, I was about 19 years old already. And I thought I knew everything. And I went into the dating online and I met this guy online. Which, yeah, turned out he wasn't a good guy. That was my first experience, dating online.
He was not a good guy.
He wasn't, no. He made it seem himself like he was a good guy, but he wasn't a good guy.
And he ended up he took advantage of you.
Yeah. He ended up taking advantage of me pretty bad, but that's just experiences that I've learned to not trust no one online.
So how did it start? Because at first you thought you were just gonna wear a pretty dress and be an escort.
Yeah. I remember him saying, though, well, you're very beautiful. How would you like to make money? And, at a young age, just 19, anybody would do anything for money. You're like, well, I remember him telling me, as a young girl, fresh out of high school, making money. I was like, yeah, why not? So he told me I would be an escort.
Right. So he told you you'd be an escort, you make money, right? You'd wear a pretty dress.
Yeah, I would wear
what?
pretty dresses. I would just escort people to like fancy dinners, or if someone needed like just a person just to be with them company wise. Just he never told me it was anything sexually until I got my first person who was an I thought I was just gonna go and accompany people to like a balls or a dinner or something, and turns out it wasn't like that. I remember him just going to a hotel room, getting a room, and said, well, it looks like you have your first client, so you should probably get ready. And I said, okay. Me being young and not knowing what was gonna happen, He said, well, do you like it bare or no bare? And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, yeah, condom or no condom. I was like, huh? What do you mean? And he was like, well, the escorting I give is sexual. And I was like, oh. And I was like, well, you never told me none of that. And well, he was like, well, now I am. And he was like, go ahead and put this on. And I put like some shorts and like a t-shirt on. And yeah. He told me how much he charged the guy for my service, and the guy was paid me, and then after that he would come in, and I gave him the service that he wanted, and then when he would leave, the guy, which now I would refer him now as a pimp, he came in and told me, where's the money? And
Yeah, well, he was a
yeah,
pimp. Yeah.
and I gave him the money, and once I gave him the money, he would force himself on me, and he would also have sex with me. And I remember just finding myself with him too, because I'm like, wait, I just got done having intercourse with some random guy, and now you want to come in and force yourself on me. And he never beat me up or nothing, but it was just, he would just hold me down and assaulted me as well. And that just continued until like someone helped me get out.
Yeah, what happened? It was a client that helped you, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was a client. He became a regular client. Which after a while, me and the client stopped having sex because he wanted to help me get out, and he would just come as a regular and pay me the amount that he said he was gonna pay, and we would just actually sit there, talk, and I would just listen to him, and that's it. And then one night he was like, hey, let me help you get out of here, and what she did. And I got out and never went back and never looked back.
And how long were you with that pimp? It was a long time. It was like 2 years,
Yeah,
you said?
2 years.
And then also, and maybe this was at the same time, but you were homeless at some point, and you were living on Skid Row, and a lot of terrible things were happening to you. Was this then, or was this after, or
No,
before,
this
or what?
was no, it was then. It was like once I lived with the person who helped me get out, and I don't recall what happened exactly, but I feel like we had like a little argument, and he kicked me out of his place, and I became homeless. I went to the shelters, and I lived in the shelters for a little bit, and then from the shelter I remember that you had to be in a curfew time. You had to go to like a specific time to make sure you have a bed, and I just remember that I didn't make it in time to get a bed, and I fortunately had to sleep in the skid road, and luckily I only slept once in the skid road, but still for me it was just a tragic, because luckily, I don't know why, but I know like my uncle's always with me, and I just remember like this lady come up to me and she goes, hey, are you okay? I was like, no, I'm actually in the shelter, but I missed my time to punch in to get the bed. And the lady was like, well, my boyfriend has a tent, but you have to pretend, or you just have to pretend that you're gonna do heroin with us. And I was like, okay. And she goes, but don't worry, you don't have to do no drug. I'll just, he's gonna handle you the needle, and I'm gonna pretend to help you, that you're shooting up the heroin. But she was like, you're not gonna be doing it. I was like, okay. And yeah, I just remember that exactly what happened. And her boyfriend or husband, I want to say, or something like that. I slept in the tent, and nothing happened. She made sure that nothing happened to me, and it was a crazy thing because I'm just like heroin, drugs. I've never done drugs, but I was scared because I thought, she just told me you just gotta pretend, like pretend you're on something, or pretend that just pretend. And I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know how to pretend that I'm on drugs, but I'll pretend. And yeah, it was just me by pretending that, oh yeah.
I wonder why she wanted you to do that.
I wonder too.
Yeah, why do you think? Why?
I want to say like maybe the husband wouldn't let me sleep in the tent with them if I wasn't a druggie or something. I don't know. But no, I'm just very thankful that, I was able to sleep in a tent and not in the cold. But it was in the cold, but not too cold.
And it was at the same time that you're also suicidal, right?
Yeah.
You were having a really tough time.
Yeah, and that whole time, I remember I'm just like, I'm not gonna be good enough. I'm not gonna be good. And I just remember telling myself like, I just let a guy from online just use me for money, and I became another victim. And I told myself, like, I promise, I'm not gonna get abused again. And unfortunately, I let myself get abused again without exactly knowing that I was gonna get abused again. I don't know, it was just so hard for me that it was during the holidays too, now that I was homeless. And I just remember going to the Hollywood Walk, the Walk of Fame, and going around there, and I saw a building, and a garage was open of a building, and I was like, well, this is it for me. And I remember clearly walking up to a building, and I want to say it was like a 6-story building, and the security guard came and was like, hey, do you live in this building? I was like, oh no. I remember I had my 2 backpacks with me, and the guy's like, well, fortunately, like, we can't let no one come in. And I was like, oh, I'm just looking at the view from here. And then the security guard, well, yep, it is a beautiful view, right? I was like, yeah, it is. I'm like, I'm just admiring it before I go. And he said, okay. And I don't know why, but something in him called the police, and within seconds, fire department came, and I just remember, having a phone with me, and the cop was talking with me on the phone, and I told the cop, well, if any police officers come up the stairs, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna jump off. And the officer was like, no, don't do that. And I remember clearly I saw 2 officers coming near me, and I jumped off the building. And luckily my head didn't hit the floor first. The cops were, when the fire department, I should just say, the fire department were able to catch me, which I find it crazy that the fact that the building had like a metal thing sticking out, so my head was probably like a few inches from me hitting it, so I could have instantly died if I hit the metal thing. And I just remember my whole body just hit the floor, and I hit the floor really hard, and they couldn't find a pulse in me. So I want to say I did experience life after death. I saw myself outside of my body, and I could just, see the fire department like saying, and I could hear him actually. I could just hear and see what's going on around me, and I could just hear the fire department's like, ma'am, what's your name? What's your name? Stay with us. And I just remember like them saying like, we can't feel a pulse. We can't feel a pulse. And I just remember walking in like the clouds, and I saw white, and I was like, well, I'm finally gone. And then I don't know, I want to say like I spoke with an angel or something. Then I came back. I just remember
you had another angel. There was another angel
another angel
came to you?
And I just remember the angel saying, it's not your time. And I came back to the reality, and then I came back, and when I came back, I was in the hospital. So that was one of my suicide attempts that I thought, well, I'm gone. But no, I'm still here, strong.
So, how did you end up after all this, Melanie? You've had such a tough time as a little kid, as a teenager, as a young woman. How'd you end up getting out? I mean, when I say getting out, I mean, you're on your own now. You have a job. You have your own little studio. You feel safe, right? You're taking care of yourself. Is that how it is now, or are you?
Yes. I don't know. Just by the time that I attempted suicide, I remember my stepdad. I called my stepdad and I told him that I tried killing myself, and he said no, and I said yeah. And from there, he took me in his arms again, and I remember him clearly saying, you cannot be at the house if you don't have a job or if you don't go to school. He says, I don't want you to be home and do nothing. And I said, okay. And from there, I got myself back into therapy. I went back to therapy. I was working on my trauma again. I went to intense therapy. I remember that. I would go twice a week to therapy, and then I would go to groups. From groups, I would just keep myself busy. And at the time, I was going to school and working. And then once I felt like I was ready, and I told my dad I'm ready to be on my own again, and he said okay. And he was like, well, I support you, and I'm here for you. And then when I moved out of my dad's, I got myself a little room. I rented a room, and I was still going to school and working. So yeah, after all of what I went through, I actually stopped taking medication, because that was also one of the effects of me. I was on the medication when I jumped off the 6-story building, and I noticed, like, if I'm gonna be in medication, and it took me to an extreme where I really was gonna kill myself, I'd rather not have any medication in my system. And for, like, a lot of people say, if you're not gonna take medication, at least go to therapy. And for me, that I suffer with PTSD, anxiety, depression, was like, for me, was like, okay, I had to make that choice for myself, where do I want to be suicidal and have a medication that's going to kill me like it did the first time, or go without medication and struggle, but I will still be stable. And yeah, I'm stable. I want to say, as an adult, it's hard sometimes, but I want to say within this year, I've been in the hospital twice. So I want to say, for me, that's like a big achievement. I'm very proud of myself.
You've worked really hard to take care of yourself to get better.
I did, yes. And I'm very proud of myself. And usually I would go to the hospitals during the holidays, and I'm so proud of myself that this year I didn't. I made myself so busy that not once I ever thought about killing myself this holiday. And I'm just so proud of myself that I didn't think like that. I had some friends, to help me out, and I'm in a relationship, so that also helped me a lot, knowing that, that helped me, even though I've been single my whole life. But just knowing that I have people who care about me, and they show they care about me, just helped me more realize, like, if I do kill myself, I'm gonna hurt a lot of people.
Right. You told me that you feel grateful now. Can you tell me why that is? Because, if you've had a really rough time, Melanie, but you feel grateful.
I know this might seem like it's bad to say it, but like this, but I guess I would have to say I'm grateful that all of this bad things had to happen to me for me to become the person that I am. Um, not a lot of people wish that upon someone, or, wish that that happened to them. But for me, I guess I want to say, like, I'm so grateful that, like, no matter what happened to me, I still found my way to be strong and be survival and use my skills to survive, and, make myself say it's okay, I'm gonna be okay, I'm gonna get out of this, and I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna become a better person. And sure am, I am a way better person than I was. Um, I think differently now. Um, I still suffer with a little bit of PTSD, but I'm able to manage my anxiety now. I'm able to control everything with no medication, and for me, I have to say I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that no matter what I went through, I had angels around me in every situation. I want to say God and my uncle was with me.
Yeah, but Melanie, to me, it sounds like you're the angel.
Probably.
I want to ask you something that I ask all of my guests, and if you could think about it for a minute. What is the one thing that no one would know about you unless you told them? And probably there's quite a few things that you've actually shared in this recording so far that many people would not guess, but and maybe you don't even have to answer, but what is the one thing you think that people would never know?
Well, first, before I say my answer, when people see me, they see me as a bubbly person, a smiley person, outgoing. They see me as a strong, independent young woman. And if I would have to say, people would never know if I had a hard life. Yeah, people would never know that I suffered. Because they just see a happy, gloomy person that it's like, wait, what? That happened to you?
I think it's really important that you shared your story with us today, Melanie. I know it takes a lot of courage to do this, and I want to thank you for that, because this kind of story needs to be heard. People need to know that there's young women like you out there that need help.
Yeah.
Even if they don't look like they do, right?
Yeah, I don't know why, but this always gonna stay with me, and I think because that one EMT person told me the last time I was in the hospital. Oh, actually, it was actually an officer who told me. An officer told me, well, you don't look like a person who's gonna kill themselves. And I said, what does that mean? Just because, someone who looks like they have their life together doesn't mean they're actually going through a hard time. And that just stood with me. The officer told me, well, you're a very young girl, a beautiful young lady, and why do you want to kill yourself? You don't seem like someone who wants to kill themselves. And I said, wow, that took my breath. Because I'm just like, wow. Just the least that you expect from someone who doesn't look like they need help or looks like they have their things together are actually the ones who are suffering. And I remember telling the officer, you don't have to be homeless to struggle mentally or physically. And the cop just stood quiet.
Yeah, I bet he learned something that day, huh?
He did. But I'm proud to say now that, this year coming up, I'm very proud to say actually that before my 25th birthday, and it's really rare that you'll hear someone who came from a lifestyle of foster care abuse and homeless and now is on their own, and I'm hustling every day and working every day, and I'm proud to say that this year before my birthday, I will finally pay off my car.
Yay!
So that's one thing, like, I'm very proud of myself because I never thought that I would financially get myself a car and be done paying it before the age of 25. And it's really rare that you hear a story of someone purchasing a car and getting it done at a young age. And for me, I'm just so proud that before my 25th birthday, I'll be done with paying off my car.
Good for you, man. Congratulations.
My car
Really?
will be my car.
Listen, thank you so much for talking to me. Really, thank you, Melanie. And I just admire your courageousness. You're so brave and resilient. You just kept on going, no matter how bad you felt. It's pretty amazing.
I don't know. A lot of people ask me how I did it, but I don't know how I did it.
But you did.
But I did. I would have to say the strength, the survivor skills, and I'm still, every day, I'm still fighting my demons, but I'm here.
Yay on you. Thanks.
We'd like to thank Melanie for sharing her story with us. After the interview, she called us and wanted to add one more thing. Here it is.
My hopes in future are hope my story helps others, and my dream is to work with other foster youth and hopefully become a mentor.
Thank you, Melanie. If you or anyone you know is being trafficked, please let someone know. You can contact millionkids.org or the Global Center on Human Trafficking. That's millionkids.org or the Global Center on Human Trafficking at montclair.edu. Thank you for listening, and be well. If you see something, say something. If you suspect a child's health or safety is jeopardized in any way by parents or anyone else, contact the Child Protective Services Agency in your county. 24-hour hotlines are staffed by trained social workers who will help you through the process, and you can do so anonymously. In California, you can call the Child Protection Hotline at 800-540-4000. So if you see something, say something. You might be saving a child's life. If you want to know more about becoming a CASA anywhere in the country, go to nationalcasagal.org. And in LA, casala.org. And if you want to know more about becoming a foster parent, check out the National Foster Parent Association at nfponline.org. There's also faithfosterfamilies.org and adoptuskids.org. There's tons of other information online as well, so you can just hunt around. We also want to thank the supremely talented Christina Apostolopoulos for her beautiful original music. You can find her music on Spotify or Instagram at Christina Aposta. And also thank you to Yukon Har for his engineering. Thanks for listening, and if you like what you hear and you find it as valuable as we do, please rate us and hit subscribe. You can also make a donation at bonusbabies.com. See you next time.